Yeah. So during birth, she had a stroke. We actually didn't know that. I went into labor full
Mm.
term. We went to the hospital and they ended up doing an emergency C-section because her heart rate was dropping out every time I would have a contraction. And so they did the C-section and they got her out and then they checked her and they said she was fine. And they're like, we don't know why her heart rate was dropping, but she's healthy, she's good. And they gave her to us. And so for a couple hours, we were this blissfully happy family in the maternity room. My parents came up, they live a couple hours away. Everybody's gathering around to meet the first grandbaby, our
Mhm.
first child. And then her temperature was a little low, her blood sugar was a little low. And so her doctor did his rounds, right? And you're in the medical field, so you know. So the pediatrician, they come, they look at the baby, and he looks at her and he says, I don't know what's wrong, but something is wrong and she needs to be in the NICU. And within 20 minutes of her being up in the NICU, she had 2 seizures that were apneic episodes. They stopped her breathing. She turned blue. She was in the NICU. So thank God they revived her right away. And then they had to figure out what was going on. And so it took 3 days of doing EEGs, a CT, eventually an MRI. And the neurologist came to present the MRI to us. And my husband and I were sitting on the hospital bed. My parents were sitting across in the room on some chairs. And he opened up a red folder, which had the MRI scans in it. And he circled a very dark portion on one of the MRI scans. And he said, do you see this dark portion of your child's brain? Well, that portion of her brain is dead. And so she's going to have cerebral palsy. She had a left middle cerebral artery stroke. We don't really know what her prognosis will be. If she ever walks, it will probably look like this. And then he proceeded to physically act out what a child with cerebral palsy might look like. And it was the most devastating moment of my life. And I didn't understand how it had happened. I didn't understand what cerebral palsy really meant. Over time, we were able to overcome that. And so I think anyone sitting watching that movie their heart would have stopped with mine. Hearing that a portion of your child's brain is dead is probably the words that will haunt me for the rest of my life. But at 6 years old today, because of the work that we've put in and because of how incredible the brain truly is, she walks, she runs, she jumps, she's in first grade, she talks, like if you just met her, you wouldn't necessarily know right away that she has, challenges.
Wow.
We're in a ton of therapy and we're going through all sorts of stuff and we deal with seizures and it's not an easy road, but
Right.
every single day she gets better. And so I think there's a happy ending to the movie. And I can't wait to see, how much greater life can be.